Wow, 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 wow. Here we are.
Hello.
And we're live.
Hi, guys. I'm Krystal.
I'm Eric, the other half. Up for this video. That sounded weird. I'm putting okay, so everyone knows. I'm putting coconut oil on my hands because they're
getting chapped from the cold weather that we don't deserve down south. This is why we moved south.
This terrible weather. It was like, what was it? Mid 40s today.
It was 24 last night. Let's be real.
But last night when I was sleeping, it was cold outside. So my hands are mourning. So I had to oil up the hands before our video. That's, if anyone heard, that's what that sound was. I apologize for doing it right into the microphone. Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Krystal from the Dog Psychology and Training Center. And this is my lovely husband, Eric, who likes to oil his hands for Facebook videos. We are going to be talking about how to choose a breeder when looking for a puppy. So maybe a controversial topic because, you know, the whole adopt, don't shop. There's pros and cons to both. There are too many dogs for people, so we definitely promote adoption. But at the same time, there is nothing comparable to a great quality bred dog. And so when you adopt from a shelter, there's some risk involved, especially if you're a family with younger children or you have a purpose that you want this dog for, such as service dog training, or you have, you know, agility or a sport competition dog. There are things that you're going to want to look for that you just can't risk getting a dog from a shelter. Right. Dogs from shelters are great. We love them. We support them. My favorite type of dog is was it a rescue? When we ask people, what kind of dog do you have? A rescue? There's so many. Does that help us? But it is.
And I'd say too, like if you're gonna do like therapy dog training or service dog training with your dog, like there is a huge amount of training that goes into that. So you probably don't want to adopt a 2 or 3 or 4 year old dog if you're gonna spend multiple years training that dog. Therapy dog you could, but it's something to consider. Yeah. If you're gonna put an extreme amount of training and have a big task for your dog,
service dog especially.
Service dog, primarily you want to have a good prime time with that dog that they can provide that service. Not adopting a 5-year-old dog that
you're going to spend 2 or 3 years training and then only have 2 or 3 years of good quality work for a service dog before they need to retire.
Yeah. So there's a number of pros and cons for either camp. But today we're just going to be kind of talking about if you feel that it's best for you and your family to select a puppy from a breeder. There's some important things that we feel from, at least from our side,
from the training side,
the behavioral side,
we come in and we can observe what quality breeders do for dogs and what unquality breeders do for dogs. I wouldn't even call them breeders. I would just call them unqualified people do for dogs.
And I'll throw a little quick disclaimer out there too. Like, there's a ton more to consider when considering a breeder that we're not even going to touch. No. Like health stuff. Like, yes, there's a ton of due diligence you can do in terms of, does this breeding line have a history of hip dysplasia or genetic disorders or whatever? Yeah. We're not going to be talking about that stuff. Yeah. We're going to be just talking about behaviorally, like when they get to be the age that we see them, when their families are pulling their hair out because there's behavioral issues, just some things that you can look for in a breeder that you're not necessarily going to pick you could pick the best breeder in the state, and there's potential that you could still have a dog that's not what you imagined. But there's certain things that you can look for to give yourself the best opportunity to avoid that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about.
Unless we get off on tangents, and then we might talk about other things.
We might talk about cats. We might talk about wine. Who knows?
Oh, is that what we're doing now? I have to give a shout out to Cityscape. Can you guys see that? There we go. Cityscape Winery. It's just around the corner from us. We love them.
3 Dots wine glasses. If you can see those.
It's more than 3, but that's okay.
They only saw 3. Nobody would have known.
How many glasses have you had? We don't need to know.
Anyways, we might get off on tangents, but the purpose of our video is talking about puppy
breeders. My first tip or suggestion would be, can you meet the puppy and the parents? Or parent, because we know some breeders stud out dogs. And so you may not be able to see the stud because he may not even be in the same county. But can you meet the mama dog and can you meet the puppies?
And why is that important?
So many reasons.
Let's go there.
I love people and they frustrate me. I say that to say most people mean well, but some people do lie and they're good at it. So they will tell you your puppy is kept inside, your puppy is well socialized, your puppy gets along with the kids in the house. But then when you show up to the house, there's no kids, the puppy's outside in a barn, and it is not socialized, and it is terrified of everything that moves. So can you see the dog? Can you see the mama dog? That's another big one that we get a lot. We saw the puppies are great, but they wouldn't let us see mommy or daddy. Why? They didn't really say. Or they said that they didn't really like guests. That's a big red flag.
Right.
So clearly they haven't trained their dog, because if your dog doesn't like people, you can at least train your dog to tolerate people. And if your dog is so aggressive that it can't even tolerate people, you should not be breeding that bloodline.
Right.
Not good quality puppies.
Like, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that all those puppies are going to have that behavioral issue or tendency, but the odds are not in your favor. So if you are out to find a breeder that you're paying good money for and you're handpicking
or
a
not
puppy,
paying good money for,
right? Yeah, you're right. Regardless how much money you're spending, you're going to be spending the next 10, 15 plus years living with this dog for better or for worse. So this is a huge commitment that, unfortunately, us as humans, we oftentimes we rush into, like, it's an impulse buy, but most impulse buys don't impact almost every aspect of your life for the next decade and a half. This one does.
I'm also going to go out here and I may offend some people, but I'm just going to say it. Don't buy from a puppy mill. So much back in Indiana and in South Carolina, there's not as much Amish families, but in Indiana, there was quite a bit of Amish that people would buy puppies from, and they would buy the puppy knowing that they could not see the parents, that the parents were aggressive, that the puppies were living in a barn in filth, and they just felt bad for the puppy, so they wanted to save it. But in reality, what you just did was promoted that breeder to keep breeding and doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I know it's hard, but you just have to draw that line and not support bad breeders, because they will keep doing it.
Yeah.
Support the breeders that charge a couple $100s more, because you will save that money in the long run through obedience training, because your dog won't be a hot mess, through medical bills, because your dogs won't have all the genetic predispositions that poorly bred dogs have. And there's so many other health benefits. Like, they would get this puppy from the Amish breeder that had parvo, and that's weeks, sometimes months, and thousands of dollars of curing this puppy so they could live till tomorrow. When you could have bought not even a purebred, but a well-bred dog from a breeder who kept those puppies clean, who gave them their vaccinations, unless they titer their dogs, which I'm in support of too, that has good bloodlines, that actually chooses, I'm going to say it, bitches and studs for genetic purposes.
Right.
They pick the best of the best, and they're not going to breed dogs that are predisposed to hip dysplasia or that have a history of reactivity or nervousness or anxiousness. Like, they breed quality dogs. So I'm going to say that. I know it's hard. I feel you. We want to save all the dogs too, but we also want the people that shouldn't be breeding dogs to stop breeding dogs so that we can promote good quality breeders.
Yeah. Rescuing that one dog is...
No.
It's a lose situation. Leaving that dog there, leaving that dog in that situation is a lose situation. Rescuing that dog is a lose-lose, because it's going to continue to happen. So,
by rescuing, you don't mean adopting from the shelter. You mean rescuing it from the farm.
Yeah, by rescuing it from the puppy mill breeding scenario.
Yeah.
So we could talk about that for an hour, but we're not going to do that.
I just wanted to touch upon that because I know it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So now that we ripped that Band-Aid off, what else you got?
So we talked about parents Can you see the puppies? Are they inside or outside? And I want to touch on that a little bit more. And we'll probably talk more about socialization in general, but the concept of it's not even just the concept of like, is the puppy being comfortable? Because a puppy could be totally comfortable in a barn for the first 8 weeks of its life.
Especially if it's a herding dog or a hunting dog.
So it's not a matter of like, is the puppy being treated poorly? Like that's not the only thing to consider. If the dog, why you want the dog to be inside is the puppy is because that's one piece of the socialization pie. They're being exposed to the sights, the sounds, the smells of a living house.
Everyday life.
Everything. So the essentially the whole purpose of socialization is to build a solid foundation with that dog of things that they're comfortable with. Because if they're not exposed to things until they're 8 months old or 2 years old or 5 years old,
or 9 weeks old.
Or 9 weeks old. Like, there's different extremes.
But since we're talking about getting a puppy from a breeder.
It's important that they're exposed to all of these things because otherwise it's new and it can be frightening for them. When they grow up with this stuff, like it's undervalued how important the first weeks of the puppy's life is. When they grow up with people and potentially other animals, potentially kids. That's not always the case because not everybody has those things. But even just the sounds of the house, running water, cooking food in the kitchen, like all these smells, foot traffic through the house, closing doors, opening doors, like all these things they're being accustomed to living in a house. These are all things that they're going to experience if you're going to bring your dog in your house. So it's important. I mean, this is so huge. If they've never experienced any of this stuff until they're 8, 9, or 10 weeks old,
you don't want to spend the first months with your puppy helping them adapt to everyday life. By adapt to everyday life, I mean counter conditioning everything that happens in your world to help the puppy not freak out. A puppy that is well-bred and is confident and exposed to everyday triggers that life happens, dropping pans, knocks at the door, doorbells, bangs on the TV, kids screaming, you screaming. It's just, you can't go back. You can't take it back. Another thing, sorry, go ahead.
You said you can't go back, and it made me think. So like with my analogy of like pouring a foundation, like that's essentially what's happening with the first, people all say different things, but the first, say 16 weeks of your dog's life, the foundation is being poured. So how solid, how sound that foundation is, there's no redoing a foundation. You can put supports on the outside. You can spend, the next months or years trying to stabilize that house, but there's no redoing the foundation. So the foundation is being poured in those first, let's say 16 weeks, regardless what's happening. So you can pour a good foundation and have a solid puppy to build on for the rest of its life, or you can have a really poor foundation that you're trying to repair and make accommodations for the rest of that puppy's life.
I forget what I was going to say. I'm sorry. What else you got?
So something else that we recommend people use is the Puppy Aptitude Test, which we'll have to remember to link to that. Puppy Aptitude Test is a fantastically laid out list of simple tests that you can do with your dog.
I think there's like 10 or 12.
Yeah, 10 or 12, and I couldn't name them all off, but one of like exposure to certain types of sounds, like
dropping it. So, for example, this is a test you can use when you go to look at puppies.
Yes, that's important.
And hopefully the breeder is already using this test. But if not, it's something you can take with you. And the benefit of this test is to help find the ideal temperament of dog for your family. There's different temperaments of dogs. And that doesn't mean that a dog that is more dominant and more cocky is a bad dog, but it's definitely not the best dog or the right dog or a good dog for a family with young children. However, if you want a dog that's going to do agility competitions or is going to be a search and rescue dog, that's going to be a great quality dog, because that dog is going to have drive. It's going to have confidence. If there's a house on fire and you say, go save somebody, they're going to be like, okay, I'm in. Whereas a dog that is fearful, insecure, probably, again, not a good dog for a family with younger children, and definitely not a dog that's going to run into a building that's on fire to save someone's life. They're going to say pass. Hard no.
pass.
So the puppy aptitude test lets you basically see those extremes, from the dog that's very confident and very drivey and very cocky and is not going to be a good dog for a first-time dog owner or for families with young kids, to that middle ground dog that has some confidence, but it's also reserved enough to not be overwhelming or to be super challenging. And then onto the other side of that spectrum of the dogs that are going to be more quiet and more insecure and maybe more suitable to a quieter situation, lifestyle. Thank you. So maybe a couple that doesn't have kids and doesn't want kids, or maybe an older couple whose kids are out of the house, or they have teenagers. This is going to be a more suitable dog for them because it's going to need a quieter lifestyle. And so the puppy aptitude test has different things to help you judge the temperament of your puppy, basically the personality of your puppy. And so one of them is like a loud noise. How does your puppy react? So if there's a chair that gets knocked over at the breeder's house, that confident dog is going to go nuts. He's going to be lunging at the chair, very confident, right? The dog that's going to be kind of in the middle for the good family dog, the good young family dog, is going to maybe bark once or twice, but then quickly resume whatever it's doing. Like, okay, no threat to me. I'm going to get back to my business. And that fearful dog is going to run under or behind somebody and say, oh my gosh, save me. The world is ending. And it was just a chair.
And he's not going to rebound very well.
Right. He's not going to rebound quickly.
It might take him like a few minutes or longer before he recovers from that. So that's just one of the tests. There's a whole bunch though. And it's written by Wendy Volhard, who breeds Labrador retrievers, promotes raw feeding, has a great raw diet supplement to put on top of raw meat for dogs. Fantastic lady. And what stood out the most to me for Wendy Volhard is good quality bred labs and the diet. And so when I went to a workshop and I heard her speak, she said her labs live to be 17. Mind blown. And they don't shed. What? I've never met a lab who doesn't shed. She said her labs only shed twice a year. They have 2 shedding cycles in the spring and the fall, and that's it. Okay, so this lady's on to something. I'm going to definitely take some notes. So she has the puppy aptitude test. This lady knows what she's talking about. Great vault of resources on her website. We're going to link to the puppy aptitude test specifically after our show. Yes.
What else you got?
What did I have?
I still can't remember mine.
So something else to consider. Sorry, we fell off on one of our pages, so we're back on. So there's a little split there. But we'll link to the whole video on YouTube. We'll upload it to YouTube. We'll link to it. But so for like socialization, a question to ask, like it's important to ask your breeder questions and see how they respond to these questions. Are they doing anything specifically to build confidence and socialize the puppies? Like, obviously, it's a huge step just to have them inside and exposed to what's happening, like regardless what effort's being put in. But there are really simple things that, again, a good experienced breeder who is very conscious of the socialization aspect and the importance of that can do simple things like one of the exercises that we do is just having a kiddie pool with empty water bottles in it that the dogs can play in. And we encourage that by putting food and treats in there. So it's something that
it's harmless.
May
sound loud and maybe a bit scary at first.
There's a lot of really important things that happen in terms of socialization and exposure, confidence build. That's what I was looking for, more so than socialization. Confidence building, because not only does it make a lot of loud, kind of frightening sounds.
It's very echoey.
When they move one bottle, like if it moves all the bottles. So there's a chain reaction. So that's something they kind of have to get used to and get comfortable with. But when you make these kind of things fun with food, or
toys. Not all dogs are food motivated, and we're okay with that.
and the pool's going to move. The pool has a different feel than the floor. The pool's probably going to slide if it's on a hard surface. So there's so many different things that are happening with this simple little game that are going to build your dog's confidence so much.
Profound impact to the rest of your dog's life.
Seriously. Like these things might almost sound silly, but when you look at the dog's ability to be in situations that could frighten and terrify a specific dog that your dog can not even bat an eye at, that impacts your whole quality of life, your stress level from day to day,
your dog's stress level,
your dog's stress level. Life, I mean,
which impacts your quality.
Yes.
That's where you're going with that, but
that's they feed each other. Yeah, but like these kind of things are so important. So ask your breeder, what do you do to build the confidence in your puppies and to socialize them at a young age? And how they answer that question is going to be huge. If they blow that off, like they don't do anything and they don't think it's important,
red flag.
That's a red flag. Like if they don't see it as important, then they are not focused on that at all.
Right.
And I would say the same thing with asking, how often do they breed? How often do they breed? And is it the same dogs? Because like another red flag is if they're repeatedly breeding like the same dog, they're not being mindful and conscientious of that dog's well-being. So in essence, if they're not being mindful of the mama dog's well-being, I would argue to say that they're probably not being super mindful of the puppy's well-being. So,
or the quality of pups and future generations that they are promoting.
Right.
Dog breeding obviously is an amazing thing. It gave us all of the wonderful breeds that we have today, but there is a lack of quality that's put into breeding nowadays that they're not breeding for those purposes anymore. They're just breeding for $1. Yeah. And that to me is a big red flag. Like, do they have history of all the pups that went home? Do they stay in contact with those parents, or do they have like puppies that came from their litters on their website so you can see the quality? Or are they very sheltered about giving that information?
Right.
What kind of quality, what kind of pedigree? And by pedigree, I don't care if they're AKC or not, because AKC has its own very strict things. But like, what kind of pedigree are they keeping track of? Like, do they have the mama dog and the dad dog have specific tests for certain breeds? They sometimes have some hearing disorders. So do they have that bear testing? I don't remember the spelling, but it sounds like bear testing, but it's for their ears. Yeah. Do they have, hip dysplasia testing for the larger breed dogs to make sure that is not something that is genetic? And with any large breed dog, hip dysplasia can be a risk. But if you have a solid line of dogs that have been bred and don't have that, or have very, very small exposures of that, lower. Right. And then your dog's quality of life is going to be affected by that. So super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing I remembered. Go ahead. Ask your thing. I remembered mine.
I'm going to remember mine.
Okay. So the other thing is super big for us as trainers, super big, is the age that the breeder sends the puppy home.
Yes. Wow. Go for it, Chris.
Never take a puppy home before 8 weeks unless the mama dog is no longer with us.
She said it. She said that word.
That puppy, even though it may not be drinking as much of mama dog's milk, maybe it's not drinking any milk at 7 weeks anymore because mama dog's done. That's okay. What that mama dog is teaching that puppy is something that us humans, us professional trainers, can't teach a dog. It's bite inhibition, social etiquette, social hierarchy. No. Mama dogs teach puppies no all the dang time. But they speak their language, so they can teach no so much more effectively than us humans. So that puppy, when a human says no, they get it.
And it's being built into the foundation of the dogs itself when the mother's teaching it at a young age.
Yep.
It's not a 2x4 leaned up against the building that's just keeping it held up, which is what we're going to do, right? We're going to be putting 2x4s on the side to make sure everything stays standing. but it's so much simpler for you and so much healthier for your dog if it's just built into the foundation.
Yeah. And so the puppy that comes out of okay. The two types of puppies that you'll get. Puppies that have had the extra time with the mama dog is going to have solid bite inhibition. And a puppy who's taken away at 6 weeks is not going to have any bite inhibition. And so what this means is the severity of which a puppy mouths on a human or bites on a human. So when if you have a lot of exposure to puppies, you're going to see these two differences. The puppy that has that time with mom, you're going to be playing with it. And even if it does bite your skin, it's probably not going to break skin. It might hurt because puppies' teeth
they
are
have
like
razor sharp
blades.
teeth. There's no getting around that.
Right?
Sorry, it doesn't matter what breeder you go with.
It might hurt, but they're going to have that bite inhibition where they stop and they know, like when you say, ow, they're going to know to be like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to. Let's keep playing. Whereas that puppy who doesn't have that time, like they're going to destroy your hands, like a bloody hot mess. You're going to have bandages wrapped around it and they're not going to stop. They might even get more, what's a dog trainer term is aroused. They might get more excitable. They might feed off of those squeals that you put out because it's making the play more fun for them. And that's something that mama dog could have taught them the rules of the game. How to socialize, how to play appropriately. The other thing I'm going to put in here real quick is that the preferred age that we recommend to take a dog home from a breeder, if the breeder allows it, I thought you were going to throw up some fingers, 12 weeks. I know it sounds crazy, but that time with mama is irreplaceable. That mama dog teaches them so much. The time with the siblings, all of that is super important. And a lot of people will say, well, my dog's food aggressive because he had to share a bowl with all of his siblings. No, that's probably just not good breeding. I mean, dogs are pack animals. They're used to sharing food. So the more time with the mama, the better, but never before
8 weeks. My goodness. And so I know somebody's watching this video right now thinking, what's a week, right? It's 7 days. Blah. And they're making that face too. Stop laughing at me. Somebody out there is watching. So a week, you think about the first half of that period of time in your dog's life, they're not. When do they open up their eyes?
I don't know.
I don't know exactly either.
Where's your mom when you need her? No need. When do puppies?
Was it like 4
eyes?
Weeks or something? Maybe 8 days.
Sounds good. I would say
don't
probably
ask
a couple weeks.
I feel silly now that I brought it up, and I don't know that. We don't breed dogs.
We don't have the patience
train dogs after they're bred.
Yeah, that's not us.
But you think about 8 weeks. Like what's week 7 to week 8? What importance is that? Well, the later portion of when they're with mom and the rest of their pack is more impactful than the first couple weeks, because the first couple weeks all they're doing is laying around, sleeping, and eating, sucking with their eyes closed. That's it.
They poop a lot,
and they're pooping. Of course, they're pooping. You can't stop the poop. But so I mean, if you think the first 3 weeks is them just laying around, sucking and pooping, then they're only getting 5 weeks if they go home at 8 weeks of actual interaction. Mm-hmm. If you take a week out of that, that is a huge percentage of their foundation that you're taking away.
Not to mention that puppies age differently than humans. So, like Eric mentioned, those first few weeks, the puppies are infants, right? And then the next 4 weeks, so 4 to 8 weeks, like they're toddlers. And then that 8 weeks to 12 weeks, like they're elementary age first and second graders. Like puppies age so much differently than human children. So take that into consideration. 7 days for a dog, 1 year for a dog is like 7 human years, right? So 7 days
is like 7
weeks. Months or 7 weeks. I'm not good with math. Don't make me do math on Facebook Live, but it's impactful. And that time is not the same measurement as human time.
Right. So it is so huge. 1 week for your puppy is absolutely huge. And if your breeder does not see the importance of that, I'm going to advise you, in my position, to
say, next.
Find another breeder. Seriously. There are plenty of fantastic breeders who have best intentions and are looking out for the dogs.
Mm-hmm. For the quality of future dogs.
Right. So do not settle for a puppy that's coming from a breeder that you're not sure about, because you're saving $300, because you're saving $700, because you're saving $1,000. Think about the next 15 years of your life and that
medical
dog's
expenses
life.
And
medical
expenses.
I'll do a quick side note to that.
Do it.
Our most expensive dog that we have ever owned in our lives was a free dog.
Blair, you know this.
Okay. Was a dog that we rescued from a family who didn't feel like they could take on this dog. Had some behavioral stuff. It was just
crazy.
Crazy.
Not aggressive, but straight cray.
Okay.
Like he yodeled. He still yodels sometimes.
He was nuts.
He's a great dog.
He's a fantastic dog.
But the energy vibrated off of him when he was sleeping.
Anyways, we're getting on a side note of my side note. But what I'm saying is we got him for free. We didn't pay an adoption fee. We didn't pay a cent. We said, yes, we'll take this dog. We love him. We took him home and he cost us more money than our $2,000 puppy that we bought at almost in the same year. Because he had so many medical issues. He had allergies, blah, blah, blah.
Luckily we got training for free because we're trainers. But that boy, like I didn't think he would ever be able to go out in public because of his excitability. Like he was just explosive, never aggressively, but because his explosive energy was so much that he would make other dogs reactive and aggressive, and then he would be reactive back to them. Like, I was just trying to play. And then there was, a scuffle was potentially going to happen. And so this dog, luckily we were trainers, and he is a great dog. He can go into public and he's completely transformed, but still crazy happy.
He was part of the bridal party. Let me just say that.
There is a cute picture of him on our Facebook page of him and Eric at a wedding. Check it out.
We got him under control. But in terms of medical, like having to get specific foods for him. So I'm saying all this stuff to say, you saving even $1,000 on your puppy is not you saving $1,000 on your puppy. Okay. So think about your dog's lifespan. Good breeding is going to save you money. It's going to save you thousands of dollars in potentially training,
vet
bills, damages to your home, and stress. You could lose years off your life from the stress that you have with the dog for 15 years in your house that you can't control. I am not even kidding.
You can still love this dog at the same time, but there is a stress that comes with you love the dog, but the dog stresses you out like no other. The whole adage of, dog's man's best friend is not true. Only a well-trained dog is man's best friend. Because an untrained dog can stress you out.
We get calls all the time. We get emails all the time. I absolutely love my dog. My dog and I are so bonded. I could not imagine my life without my dog, but he's driving me crazy.
Or I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I can't go on like this. So we're getting off on tangents.
This stuff is so important. So important.
And it's easy. It's easy to find out.
It is.
It's easy to find a good quality breeder. Is it stressful sometimes? Yeah. Yes, because they're few and far between, because there's so many mom and pop breeders that just popped up and said, oh, I like my lab, let's breed him. Do you even know anything about his parents? Do you even know anything about him? Have you even tested him, his bloodlines? Have you tested him for his blah, 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 hip dysplasia? Yeah. All of these things, they just decide, he's a good dog, let's breed him. That's not a good reason to breed a dog.
If you would spend more time shopping for a car than a puppy, you're making a mistake. Just saying that.
It's a good point. It is a good point.
Because most people would not just go out, see a car. I love that car. Let's spend $10,000 on it or $5,000 on it. You would think about it. You would ask some questions. And if they gave you really shady answers about the engine and the transmission or the warranty or the lifespan of the car, you'd be like, let me ask somebody else. Let me think on this. Yeah. Sleep on it before you just get a puppy, right? Don't get a puppy because there's somebody accidentally had a litter of puppies in the neighborhood.
I have another point to make. There are breeders who are quality breeders, but they breed for show quality. And that is not temperament quality. I just want to say right now, I'm really upset at the push of show rings promoting unhealthy dogs as quality dogs. So for example, English bulldogs, they are breeding them to the point that these dogs can't naturally reproduce. They have to be artificially inseminated. They are prone to hip dysplasia, and they're only 12 inches off the ground. They sometimes can't breathe. Their eyes pop out because they get cherry eye or because their face is so smushed. But that's what the show ring wants. And so they just keep pushing that. And to me, that's not fair to the dog. Yes, you may love that dog. Yes, some of those features might even be cute, but it's not fair to the dog. So also consider, there was a time that we were in contact with a breeder. We even put a deposit down, I believe, to get this dog. And it was a Doggo Argentino, beautiful breed. But as the puppies were born, they upped the price by $200 because they were great show quality. And we told them, we don't care about how it looks. Doggos aren't supposed to have markings on them. So we told them, if it has a black spot, we'll take it.
It's a big white dog.
We don't care about the looks. We care about the quality of temperament because we are trainers and we want to have a solid temperament dog.
They actually raised the price on us twice.
Yes. Which was already above our budget when we chose them, but they seemed like great people. We thought it was a great choice. And then they upped the price and then they upped it again. And we're just like, we're out. I'm sorry.
Strictly based on
lost our deposit, but we knew that was not the breeder for us. We don't care how pretty our dog is. We care about the quality of life that dog's going to have and our family's going to have with this dog. So I just wanted to throw that in.
I love a cute dog, but man, you don't want a dog just because it's cute. Because I'll tell you what, there's 70, I'm going to talk like my kids. There's 70, 100,000 million dogs out there that are also extremely irresistibly cute. Yeah. That probably don't have the problems that dog has. So think about this as a 15-year commitment.
Yep.
Do you have anything to add before we jump off of here? I think we covered a lot of ground.
I think we did.
We may
have stepped on some toes.
We may have raised some eyebrows.
We may have lost some friends, some Facebook friends.
But guess what?
Truth was spoken. Whether you like it or not, it's real.
This is from our perspective.
This is from not only our perspective, but our experience. Our experience with getting these puppies in and the sadness that we grieve for this puppy of a life that it'll never achieve because of an irresponsible person who decided to breed a litter of dogs. Just
so they could get $10,000. So yeah, this is from us over the past decade, getting the phone calls, getting the emails, getting the text messages of, this is my situation. I got a puppy. Can you help me? And walking that journey with them, talking to people who got their puppy at 6 weeks, talking to people who got their puppy at 8 weeks, people who got their puppy at 10 weeks, so on and so forth. People who got them from a reputable breeder, people who just, they found them. They were at animal care. They were just dropped off at 6 weeks. People who their friend just accidentally had puppies. Like we've walked the walk with these families. So this is from our experience. We don't breed dogs. I couldn't tell you all the different tests that you should look for in a breeder.
Per your breed. Every breed's different. So that's something you can Google. Google's your best friend.
There's a whole bunch of stuff to consider that we didn't talk about here. But from a behavioral standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, from a, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yes, we did.
We didn't talk about a lot of stuff.
Yes, we did not.
Somebody else is talking about that.
Yes.
So hopefully this was somewhat useful or helpful. And let me say this too. If you just got a puppy this year or last year or 10 years ago, and something that we talked about in this video, you didn't do, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, right? But I would encourage you that when it comes time to get your next puppy in a year or 10 years, just consider the stuff that we talked about and think well.
There's an old dog training saying of you pet what you get, right?
You get what you pet.
I will get it right eventually, mom brain. But I think the same is true for breeding. If you're going to keep buying from not good breeders, they're going to keep breeding.
Yep.
If you refuse to buy from them, they're going to have to shut down and stop their bad breeding habits. And you will support the breeders that actually care about the longevity of the breed.
Yeah.
And will produce future litters for that impact.
Yeah.
So
breeders that are keeping quality breeds alive, because again, this is a controversial thing, but if we were to stop breeding quality breeds in 30 years, we wouldn't have quality dogs. Right. So
I'm just going to talk about pit bulls right now, because I love pit bulls. They're one of my favorite dogs. I love their squishy faces and their big smiles. There's nothing like a pit bull smile. But I honestly don't even know what a true pit bull looks like anymore because they are so overbred with bad quality, under quality, overbred. There's so many different looks to a pit bull now because AKC doesn't even recognize them as a breed. They used to. An American Staffordshire Terrier used to be the same as an American Pit Bull Terrier. No longer because of bad breeding. Irresponsible people. So that's just something, food for thought. Google it.
That's a whole nother video.
Yeah. So
that's a whole.
We're gonna zip this before we get off on more tangents.
Because I'm with you, sister.
But we just thought this was something that needed to be said. Could benefit a lot of people, especially with this puppy boom that we have right now of puppies coming in, and hopefully can help you and your family choose a dog that's going to be the most beneficial and have the most positive impact on your family.
Cool. All right. If you found this if you found this helpful at all, or you think it would be helpful to anybody else, share this. Tag a friend, share it on your page. This is free information. This is our experience
we do
that
this
we want to share.
because we want to help. So help us help.
Help us help. If you have watched any of our videos or you're watching this one, click the little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your page. And what do they got to hit? Subscribe to our Facebook Lives, whatever terminology Facebook uses, so that when we go live again, you get a little ping on your phone. You can say, hey, what's Krystal and Eric up to? And we're probably talking to you.
Tangents. That's what we're talking about.
Rabbit holes. So check it out. We're going to hop off here. Check us out next Thursday at 7:30. If
you have a topic of choice, let us know. We're always open to ideas of what you guys want to hear about.
Yep. Comment on here or shoot us an email and say, hey, I want you guys to talk about huskies. Sure. Whatever you want. We'll think about it. I'm not going to make any promises, but we'll think about it. And we'll get on here and we'll rant for 15 to 42 minutes, apparently. All right, we're out of here.
See ya. Bye. Hasta luego. Buenas noches. That's all I got.
Hasta mañana.
I'll be back.